What's up, everybody? Elijah Reyes here again with our second tutorial for the Introduction to Python series. Remember the last tutorial, part one, we just declared some integers, some strings, talked a little bit about the print statement, when we used the type built-in function for Python to show us the variable types that we've created here. So in this tutorial, we're going to talk about variable operations for integers and strings. And again, as I said before, we want to keep this very simple. We're not going to get ahead of ourselves. Want everybody to learn at a baby step pace to make things easy and to help us fully understand just the bits and pieces of what we're trying to learn here. So first things first, declare some variables. So these first set of variables are going to be integers. So I'm going to use x again. Say x equals 5 and y equals 2. And declare some string variables. I'm just going to say name for this one. Job equals and then here we're going to add, subtract, multiply, and divide x and y. So we could do this a number of ways, but the way I'd like to do it is we're going to create another variable called z, and you can call it whatever you want. Um, but I'm going to make z equal to x plus y, so we can literally throw uh, x plus y into a variable, and the variable z will store what x plus y is. I'm going to say z2 is equal to x minus y. Z3 is going to be equal to x times y, and Z4 is going to be equal to x divided by y. Excuse me. And put some comments here for first one is add, second one is a subtract, third one is multiply, and the fourth one is division. So now we're going to print Z, Z2, Z3, and Z4. So recall Z is going to be x plus y, Z2 is going to be x minus y, Z3 is going to be x times y, Z4 is going to be x divided by y. So Command or Control S, and then Command or Control B to run the code. And you'll see we got 7 for x plus y, we got 3 for x minus y, we got 10 for x times y, and we got 2.5 for x divided by y. Now notice how we got integers here for the first three operations, and then we got a float here at the end. So Python will automatically return the proper variable type depending on what we're doing. And it just so happens that it's factual that divided by 2 is 2.5. So that's exactly what Python throws at us. And if we want to print out the types for each of these values, you will notice that we get integer, 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 and float. So integer, 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 and float, all right there. To be honest, I didn't know if that was going to actually come out that way. It was a highly semi-educated guess. So let's just comment that out for now. And now we're going to do some operations on our string variables. So we're going to count the number of times we see a specific letter in our strings. So I'm going to say the letter that we want to find is going to be the letter A or letter E. Let's just go with letter E. And we're just going to print I believe it should be just a string. So we're going to print name dot count and then the letter that we want. And the same thing for the job variable. We're going to print job dot count letter, and the count method is built into Python. It'll count the number of times it sees that specific letter in the string. Now you will notice that for name, it's going to say that it counted the letter E 0 times. And that's because E is lowercase here. And in the string, the only E in this name string is a capital E. We'll get to some of that uppercase, lowercase stuff in a little bit. I'm just going to show you that it's literally counting this specific E right here as a lowercase e. And then we should see it twice for the job variable. Okay, give me 1 second. Hold on. Hold on, let me see something here. Okay, so print name.count letter 0 times for that one, and it was a little confusing having them both on the same line, so I'm going to print them separately. Alright, so 0 and 3. So 0 times we counted the letter E in our name variable, and again that's because we have a uppercase E here and we're looking for a lowercase e. And then we were able to find it 3 times. I think I said 2 times earlier, but actually 3 times. So 1, 2, and 3 within the job variable. Now what we can do is move on to counting how many elements are in each string. And we could do that simply with the length built-in method in Python. So I'm going to print the length, len, the length of the variable name, and print the length of the variable job. I'm going to comment these 3 items out. So there's 6 elements in the string name, and there's 17 elements in the string job. One more thing I wanted to show you. was, what did we want to look at? Yeah, we wanted to look at finding the location of an element within the string. So that means I'm looking for the letter O in job. How do I find that? So I'm going to create a variable called find in name equals A. So I want to find lowercase a in the name variable. I'm going to find in job, I want to find the letter O, lowercase o. And I can simply do this by using a open and close bracket, just like that. And the way we use it is, we're going to print, they have the name of the variable and the open and close brackets right after it. Sorry, we go dot index, that's what I wanted. Dot index and then the name of the element we're finding. So the dot index will give us a number, and that number represents the location within the string uh, for that element we're finding. So name.index is going to return the place that the letter A is located, and job.index is going to return the place where the lowercase o is located within the job variable. And again, as I said before, these variable names, find in name and find in job, they can be anything. I'll actually turn them into something simpler. A equals A and O equals O. So name dot index A and name dot index O. Control save or command save and control or command B to run. So you see the output, we got a 4 and a 1. So let's go back and count where that letter A is. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's in the 5th place, but the way in programming fundamentally, there's actually the place numbers or the placeholders in a string or in a list, and we'll get to lists later on in the series. They actually start with 0. So the capital E in the name variable is actually place 0. The L is 1, the I is 2, the J is 3, and the A is 4, and the H is 5. So if you ever forget and you're counting through and you're saying, hey, my name.index said that the letter A was found in place 4, just remember it's basically the number you're counting up to minus 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 minus 1, and the actual place is 4. So I hope that makes sense. And I'll just show you, we'll get an error or an exception as it's called if we're looking for something that doesn't actually exist. So we know that the letter O is not in the name variable. So when I run this piece, you're going to see that Python is going to get very upset and say bad things. So I just ran it, and as you can see, we got an error here. So the error is value error, substring not found, and it's basically telling you what I just said. The letter O is not in there. Better luck next time. So that's it for some basic operations for these two variable types. For floats, You can do the same thing as you do with the integers. You can add, multiply, um, subtract, and divide. Um, and the next tutorial, we're going to include some conditions. So we're going to talk about if statements. We may talk about for loops, but I think I'm going to highly stick to if statements. So we're gonna check if the letter I is in the variable name, then print something to the console. Print, hey, I found an I, or something simple like that. So thanks again for watching. I hope you learned a little something today, and I hope you stay tuned. I'll see you on the next one.